Hignett corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be! Dax corner and it goes, Glad towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to our post-match live stream. It's not very often I struggle with things to say, but I'm going to need a lot of audience participation tonight because I'm still processing things in my head. I've got the sheer elation at getting a stoppage time winner, which is always a good thing. But my word, what a performance from Rovers for all of the wrong reasons. So my brain is still digesting that, and I'm a little bit older than some of the guys on this panel, so it's going to take a time to percolate through. So lots of audience participation tonight. Help us digest that one and help me get to the place of I'm ecstatic at 3 points. That's what I'm focusing on. We've won. So that's what I'm going to focus on. So help us out. We are joined as ever by Joe, Rovers Analytics. How are you tonight, Joe?
Oh, you can't ask me that. That's not fair.
It is, because I'm feeling the same.
You're asking me to explain, feelings that you can't explain. Conflicted is the word I'll go for.
Tom, we have got you returning to the panel. How are you doing, mate?
I honestly do not know. I just don't know. I think I'll leave it at that and then let you ask Alex the exact same question.
There you go, Alex. You look a bit more thoughtful than the rest of us. I'm acting on delirium. You look a bit more reflective. How are you doing?
I think the best word is confused. It's sort of like when you open your English poetry exam and just look at the questions and just the confusion that washes over you. I think it's kind of similar to that, I would say. Just clueless confusion, really. But obviously delighted to get the win. But I think the feeling is more someone shot you in the leg but giving you £1 million at the same time. It's like you don't know whether to be angry or happy. It's really quite strange, but yeah.
Oh dear. Well, before we pick up the niceties at the start, I'm going to look into the comments and just see how everyone else is feeling. And they're all feeling like us. So Ovez 2006, phew. Alexander Haben, that was painful and also relieved. Oliver Hayworth, very poor, much needed points though. Ollie Pot 3000, absolute limbs. Andy Watson, I'm in such a bad mood that I missed the winner. Oh, Andy. Stand and Stare. Well, that was a turn up for the Bucks. Pro Slated Dog thought we couldn't win dirty. That was a very dirty win, absolutely. Abi Sahar, this game was exhausting. Yes, it was. I feel battered, exhausted with that one. Riz, what on earth just happened there? And any other? No, we've got no others. Just there, some of the initial comments that we have got from people. Before we make a start, just the usual. If you are not following us on Twitter, we are Rovers_chat on Twitter. Please give us a follow. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it is Rovers Chat on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our content and help us get to 900 subscribers. We are really eager to get to that and then 1,000. And just a shout out again for the Big Fat Rovers quiz of the year, which is on the 23rd of December at 7 p.m. The big collaboration between Lancs Live, Rovers Chat, brfcs.com and Lancashire Telegraph. We're really looking forward to that one. Before we start, before we try and process any of these feelings that are rattling around our brain, we are, of course, sponsored by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Thank you to 6yardsout.com as ever for their very kind sponsorship. More comments flooding in. Michael Pearson, I'm still struggling to compute all of that. just joyous laughing at the end. Yep, that's how I was feeling, I think. Jack Hamer, overall disappointing, but take the points. Yes, we sure do. Ishmael Luna, E-I-E-I-E-I-O, up the Football League we go. Jack Hamer, Downing has to start next game. We'll come on to Downing. We've certainly spoken about the subs just before we went live, so we will talk about him, absolutely. And then Ryan Rich, I don't know really what to say. Yeah, that probably sums it up really nicely as well, Ryan. Before I come to Alex first, I will give an apology to Rotherham United. They're a great football club, and Mick, who I spoke to yesterday, was such a lovely chap. And I do feel really dirty and feel really bad that we've robbed them in that way. So football's obviously a game. It's a business at the end of the day. We will take the 3 points. But yeah, my apologies to Rotherham United for doing it in that way. So Alex, first question. This is a really easy question, but was that a fair result in your eyes?
I don't think it's as easy as it's made out to be, really. I think you can split it into two things. Was it a fair result based on the stats, looking at the game afterwards, or was it a fair result based on the way we approached the game and the way we played in our performance? And if you take that second one into account, then certainly I thought it was our worst performance of the season, if I'm being honest with you. I thought we did everything wrong from practically the start of the match. Everything was slow, pedantic. It was sideways, backwards. Every throw-in seemed to take 2 minutes. It was just ponderous. No incisive play whatsoever. And that we just played right into Rotherham's hands, really. It's as simple as that. I don't think you could have really imagined a more perfect game for Rotherham to kind of eke out a draw, eke out a narrow win, just second balls, ball in the air all the time, ball not on the ground, ball never even on the pitch at times, it seemed. But so in that sense, it seemed like we thought we could just turn up and expect to win the game, which I'm really upset about, because I think this season, one thing we've done particularly well is particularly against the teams at the bottom, we've taken the games extremely seriously. We've turned up and we've performed and we've dispatched those teams. So that was really, really disappointing for me. But I think you can also say that, did either goalkeeper really have a save to make other than the goals? I mean, it was just such an awful match. And I think it was summed up by the fact that even though we didn't play particularly well, I don't think Rotherham were better than we were. I think that just shows you how bad Rotherham are, that despite us being largely awful for the majority of the match, that I don't think Rotherham were played any better than we did. And I think that just really summed it up. And I think the final thing I would say was that the one period of pressure that we put on them for 10 to 15 minutes, where we built up any head of steam, we scored 2 goals. And yeah, I think that just gives you an indication of the level of opposition we were playing. I don't think Rotherham defended well. I don't think they competed well even. I don't even think they passed the ball well. It was all our own making, I think, the performance. And there's certainly a lot to dissect, a lot to ponder going into the games over Christmas, because if we carry on playing like that, then I think points will be few and far between.
And Tom, we did a lot of coverage pre-match about this game being a bit of a should win, not a must win. It could have been 3 defeats on the spin had we lost. Rotherham at home is one of those fixtures, if you're serious about playoffs, you've got to win. At 80 minutes or just before 80 minutes, when you're 1-0 down and you're looking at 3 defeats on the spin and the level of performance to win the game from that point, we've got to be happy with that, haven't we? How are you feeling about the game, and just, what's your thoughts on it overall?
I guess putting aside the performance, you got to be happy, like you say, with the 3 points. At the end of the day, I guess it's that typical saying, isn't it, that good teams play badly and still pick up 3 points and results. And if I'm trying to look at it positively, we have done that. It's not the first time as well this season we've done it. I think we think back to Millwall. Guess that was a similar, not as bad a performance, but a similar game where we didn't really look like winning and we were able to do it. But I'm frustrated. I won't lie about that. I expected, and perhaps I'm getting ahead of myself, and it's a bit of arrogance coming through, considering how we've played against Wycombe and Coventry, who were also in League One last season. But I think I expected us to try and blow Rotherham out of the water today. And similar to Alex said, that's something we've successfully done. We just didn't do it. We didn't turn up. I don't know if the changes he made to his 11 was a reason. The thing is, I don't think anyone played particularly terrible, perhaps apart from the defensive pairing, but no one actually did anything. It just felt like a friendly with your mates at the park, and you're not particularly bothered. That's what it felt like. It just felt like a horrible pre-season game.
I didn't expect us to blow Rotherham away today. I wasn't expecting the 3 or 4-0, but I was expecting us just to get the job done. I was expecting it to be like no problem. Just get the job done, win the game, 2-0, 3-0, whatever, and it's one that we don't really worry about. Joe, we spoke about before the game, what was the approach from Rotherham going to be today? Were they going to press us like the Rotherham fans suggested that they might do in some of the games that they've done? Or were they going to sit back? For me, the big frustration is they did neither of those things for me. I don't think they necessarily pressed us, and I don't think they sat back. And boy, did we make bloody hard work of it. What went wrong for Rovers from what you could see? Just digest that for us as best you can 20 minutes after the result.
Yeah. I think, like you say, it was neither of those things. I think their strategy was to stop play. So give away free kicks, win free kicks, get the ball out to the side. They went up the wings, winning throw-ins, conceding throw-ins. The ball wasn't in open play for more than 30 seconds at a time throughout basically the whole match. And the only period where the ball kind of stayed in play for a good couple of minutes without going out was towards the end of that second half when Holtby and Downing were linking up with each other. And that's when the 2 goals came, when we could actually build some pressure. And I don't really think it was because of our inability to play that we couldn't build. I think it was their tactics. I think the way they played reminded me a lot of Wigan under Paul Cook, especially a couple of seasons ago, and definitely when they were in League One. It's very it's not attractive, it's not hit and hope, it's just solid traditional play for the free kicks, play for the whistle football. And they played it well, and they knew that it would frustrate us, and we struggle. I mean, we play all of our free kicks short, and we were getting free kicks and playing it short, and I'm thinking to myself, that's what they want us to do. They want us to play it around. They'll keep niggling at us. The referee's not booking them. I think there was 1 or 2 bookings, and the second one was for kicking the ball away. We should have just been lumping the ball forward. He put Gallagher central in the second half, and we got a little bit more luck because we started playing a little bit longer, and you should have brought him central a little bit earlier for me, and got a bit more physicality on the pitch. And I like John Buckley, but I can understand why he came off as well. And the same with Rothwell, really. I was frustrated that he'd come off, but we kind of were forced to go more direct with those players off the pitch. So, I can understand that. So, difficult game, and I think they made it difficult for us much more than we were just dreadful. I think we were rubbish is just a really easy take to come to after that game.
Yeah, it is. And we'll get into some detail about some of the things such as the substitutions and the turning point and things like that a little bit later. It's clear it wasn't a good performance from Rovers, but what I'm going to focus on, a famous Tony Mowbray saying, we put the points in the bag and we move on. And that's what we've got to do. And to pick up a comment here from Andy Watson, just a bit further up the comments, Dan, balances out the Norwich and Bristol City matches, though, doesn't it? It swings and roundabouts. And yeah, that is the Championship all over, isn't it? We've got those games where we play well and potentially don't get anything. We've got the games where we haven't played so well and we have got some points. And this one was probably at the extreme end of not playing so well and getting the win. We're going to move on in the discussion. And Dan, just above Andy's comments, there's a comment from Leap Year Man, which segues this conversation really nicely, actually. It's obvious that the team needed freshening up, lacking a spark and an energy from the beginning. So at this point in the show, what we usually do is pick out the players who played well and the players that didn't play so well. And we've all agreed that there's no value in doing that tonight. We know that some players haven't played well. We know it wasn't a good performance. There's absolutely no point in doing that. The players know that. What we want to focus on, though, with Leap Year Man's comment there, is the substitutions. And I won't lie, at the point that some of those subs came on, and Joe said it himself there. Rothwell coming off and only midfielders being changed. I'm like, why is he not bringing Dolan on? But Alex, I'm going to come to you first. The substitutions today have actually really contributed to the positive result in the end, haven't they?
I agree. I think if I criticised Mowbray on Saturday, it was probably for changing the midfield three all in one go. And I think after that, we didn't really muster any pressure on the Norwich defence late on Saturday. So I think it was quite concerning to see that tactic deployed again. I think it seemed at that point in the game, at least, probably just from me being that angry with the way the game was going, it just seemed more of a desperation act, really, rather than any serious tactical ploy from the manager. But you have to say that you look at the players that he did bring on, and I think it's quite clear that they did change the game. I think if I had to pick one player that I thought stood out for me, I think it was Stuart Downing. I think he looked like the one player that could actually take the ball at his feet and actually pass the ball forward and accurately, and actually have the knowledge and the know-how and the experience to know what to do with it under pressure. And I think you saw that late on in the game, right at the death, where he didn't panic. He just punted the ball into the danger area, and a bit of luck, a bit of a ricochet in the box, and it falls to our danger man, and we win the game at the death. And I think you need that experience and you need that know-how to win games at this level. It's I don't think it's as simple as maybe just putting on the young lads as Buckley was. And I just looked at the team, I think, at the start of the game, and I thought, wow, I didn't expect Buckley to start tonight, and I thought it wasn't the game for him. I think if you had to pick any game in this division and any game of the season that you wouldn't want to start John Buckley in, I would have probably picked Rotherham at home. Just the style of play, the physicality. I just don't think that it's a game suited to John Buckley, and I think that's not to dig him out as being particularly poor. I don't think he was anywhere near our worst player, but you see with this formation, the 4-3-3 in particular, that the link between the midfield and the attack is so important. You know, particularly as we're not playing our old style of just knocking it up to Graham and then knocking it down to Dak. You need to actually play through the midfield, and I don't think we got on the ball for more than 10 seconds in that whole match for the first 70 minutes. So, yeah, those changes really made a massive difference, and all credit to Mowbray for that. I think we do dig him out when they don't work, and we criticise him when they don't work, and we'd have criticised him today if we'd have lost the game. So you have to praise him when things are turned around. And yeah, if I had to pick one of the bunch, for me it would be Stuart Downing, just for that know-how.
Yeah, there's certainly some agreement there, Alex, in the comments. Stand and Stare, Holtby and Downing both calmed it down but moved it forward. Elliott was their only feed, though. And then Jack Hamer, start Downing at left back, can't be any worse than Bell and Douglas. So we'll maybe talk about Downing at left back a little bit later on. Just going to pick up just before I go to you, Tom, pro Slated Dogs comment. Offside, but Bell took his header well. My word, we've all got that crazy part of our brain, haven't we, that just think about those amazing things that could happen. If Amari Bell had scored the winner in a game where we played like this, then football is complete in my eyes. That's it. We don't even need to watch football anymore. That just would have been sensational. And I'm so gutted it didn't result in that way. Tom, so the subs who came on, Tom Tribal, Tyrese Dolan, Stuart Downing, who we've spoken about, and Amari Bell. Who stood out for you out of those four subs in changing the game for us?
I think Alex said Downing was a big one, but for me, I know me and Joe spoke about it a little bit before we started. Tom Tribal came on and I thought it was brilliant. It's not necessarily that he did anything spectacular, unbelievable, and I think that's the one thing we know he's not going to do. He just came on and he seemed to, any danger, managed to intercept, was able to lay the ball off to players that perhaps can do that, like Stuart Downing's, like Lewis Holtby's. I just thought he brought a calm influence. Johnson wasn't at his best today. He's had a great season so far, but he just looked a bit off the pace today. Tribal came on and just completely didn't change the game in terms of a brilliant piece of skill, but just sort of was that calming influence in midfield, similar to how Downing was and Holtby. He was able to give it off to those players who were then able to let Elliott have his opportunity to do what he does and create.
And Joe, we spoke before again on the pre-match stream, and it figured on the post-match against Norwich. With Ben Brereton not in this side, we're lacking that ability to go for a plan B approach when Sam Gallagher's on the pitch. Really, the only attacking change we could make is Dolan, which, for whatever reason, Mowbray's chosen not to do against Norwich, and Dolan got, 5 or 10 minutes this evening. Were you like me when he's rotating that midfield thinking, oh my God, how is this going to change things? Actually, let's give credit to Mowbray. We have got hold of that football a bit higher up in that final third of the pitch. And ultimately that has led, albeit in the final 10 minutes of a horrible performance, it has led to the victory, just getting our foot on the ball, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think Downing has to take the majority of the credit for that. I thought he should have played the game from the start for me. I think he's a more natural understudy for Lewis Holtby just because they're both left-footed. People underestimate in terms of positions and how a team works, how important the foot that a player prefers actually is. Ayala looks shifty at left centre-back because he's trying to use his left foot, which he's not very strong with, to clear the ball up that line. And it's the same with that kind of right central midfield role. Even though I thought Buckley did okay, Holtby always provides something different there because he's spraying the ball left with his left foot and that ball swinging into play and not out of play. So I thought Downing should have started, but he came on and looked good. I think there was one pass he misplaced, but outside of that, he got his foot on the ball and moved us forward, really. And I think it changed things. And obviously, Holtby was a part of that too. And I think as a pairing, when we're less worried about the other team coming forward and defensive duties, you won't find a much better passing pairing in the league than Stuart Downing and Lewis Holtby. They've both got an incredible eye for a pass. So, yeah, Downing for me has to take most of the credit. And Callum Robinson says, I'm not sure understudy is the right term. You can be an understudy whilst being old. You can have an older understudy. I wouldn't call him prodigy or, anything like that. But yeah, I think he's the natural one to play under him. So yeah.
Great. I'm going to pin a couple of things for later on in the show because we are going to be looking at later games and a bit later on in the season. So Nadim's comment about Dak and Travis, we will come back to that, Nadim. And then Lee B about the closing down, stopping in games. We'll come back to that as well, just in terms of a refresh in midfield. But in relation to Tom Tribal, there's a lot of agreement with Tom in terms of what you said there, Tom, about Tom Tribal. Alexander Haben, Tribal solid. Lee B, Tribal, no danger, got stuck in, sorted it out. And then Callum Robinson, he enables us to retain the ball high up the pitch with his aggressive interceptions. I'm warming to him. And Ben the Boss Jackson, we need more players like Tribal, chasing lost causes, getting stuck in, keeping the midfield compact. Tribal's done well today, and it's a shame that did he have an illness today? Shame he didn't start the game, and he would have been fresher having not played in that Norwich game. So good to see him do well. The subs really changed the game, and shows what I know about football, because I'm like, just lob Dolan on, lob him on, he can do something. Actually, just a bit more finesse in that midfield has helped win the game, actually. So fair play to Mowbray and fair play to the team. So this is the exciting part of the show, which I have, again, not publicised at the start. So you'll have a second bite of the cherry, Rovers fans, if you want to do it. You can join the four of us on this panel show if you send a DM to the Rovers Chat Twitter account. So that's Rovers_chat. We will get you on with us for a bit of a phone-in. I'm delighted to say that we have got a fan on the show who's not Andy Watson. Sorry, Andy. I do love talking to you, but it's nice to have other people. We've got Danny, who is FM Works in the comments, who, like magic, here we go. Look, there we go. Danny is joining us. There he is. Oh, some good memorabilia behind you as well, mate. How are you, Danny?
The room's full of it. The room's full of it.
What's your who's your question for, Danny, and what's your points?
Well, yeah, I actually thought, to Tom, I've not met Tom before, but I actually thought Tom Tribal actually made a few mistakes. I actually thought they actually gave away quite a few free kicks, and okay, yeah, he came on. I actually thought that the game changer was Lewis Holtby, to be fair. I thought he was a game changer. He's the guy that made us tick. I thought Johnson, I was just too lazy tonight. It was a bit weird. he had a bit of a knock as well early in the first half. But yeah, I think I just thought that Tribal was still a bit under the weather, shall we say. Don't get me wrong, when he's on his game, he's on his game. There's no doubt about it. But I actually thought he gave away about 3 free kicks actually, and he was 3 kicks against a big side who was just going to lump it into the box or lump it into Smith, see if he could feed any of them wingers off him. So yeah, don't get me wrong, he is a quality player, but yeah, I thought it was just a little bit under the weather, shall we say.
I'll give Tom the right of reply in a moment, but just thinking about, we're talking here about Holtby, we're talking about Downing in terms of changing the game. We've spoken about squad depth, and I think when you're talking squad depth, you probably focus on centre-backs and strikers because they're the 2 most important areas of the pitch. Actually, our squad depth has helped us out massively today to be able to bring on the likes of Holtby and Downing for the likes of Rothwell. Rovers have never been in that position for quite a while at this level, especially. Think of some of the bench options that we've had through the years. So I think it is easy to focus on the fact that Williams isn't available today, Brereton isn't available today. So actually, yeah, it's that midfield squad strength in depth that has really won the show for us today. So Tom, I'm going to bring you in for a right of reply on Tom Tribal, if you want to do that, of course.
No,
a friendly show.
Oh, of course. Always open to criticism of my opinions. I love it. No, honestly, I can see what you mean. I think it does come with the. I guess it comes with the area that he looks at, the way he plays. He's an aggressive player, and I think that comes with him. The fouls. Like I said, I just felt that he was something. He was able to put his foot on the ball, get stuck in, and just basically do what we need that type of player to do, to almost break up the play and then pass it off to those players that can get you up the pitch. But I completely see what you're saying. With that territory, he does come with giving fouls. So yeah.
I thought tonight's win, the winner for tonight was Tony Mowbray. Simple as that. He kind of showed up that midfield, like you said. I thought Dolan coming on late on. I actually think he was really nippy, like he always is, of course. And he kind of scared the defence a little bit, and maybe that kind of worked our way into a goal, to be fair. But yeah, like I said, I'm happy it's a win. I think the guys went in there probably at the end of the game and just was silent for 10 minutes in the changing room, just like Tony said, listen, just be silent for 10 minutes because we've come away from 2 defeats, like obviously at Norwich and Bristol, and they was games that we actually could have took a point from, to be fair. But yeah, I think that Tony probably just went in there and gone, wow, guys, like, we've got away with one there a little bit. And in the 80th minute, I thought, guys, what are we actually doing? We had 70% possession of the whole game. We just couldn't tick. Yeah, I know you said you didn't want to really talk about individual players, but of course that left back position is still a massive issue, really, to be fair. And I think tonight, I think Elliot went on the left hand side in the second half, and he's switching up the front 3 a little bit. And I think what they should have done is kept on the right hand side with Niembe. I think them 2 work so well together.
They do.
And even, yeah, like I said, it's just, listen, guys, I'm happy with the W. I'm happy with the win, without a doubt. And now we're going to Stoke, and obviously we've got Huddersfield and Birmingham. Listen, if we go in against Stoke against like that, then unfortunately we're probably going to get beat. But the Birmingham Huddersfield game, probably kind of the same kind of game, to be fair. If we're going like that, it's kind of going to be the same result.
I'm going to combine something that you said, Danny, about the subs and Dolan with something that Andy Watson's put into the comments. So Andy said, in danger of overplaying the subs, Rotherham sitting back certainly helped us. So I'm going to combine the fact that the likes of Dolan was on the pitch, Rotherham started getting worried a little bit differently and did start to sit back. They were obviously trying to protect the point that they had at that point. So a combination of just getting our foot on the ball in that midfield area, Dolan adding a different threat. Yeah, Rotherham sat back a bit. So I think it's a combination of those 2 things, actually, Andy. But absolutely, Rotherham did sit back, certainly after our equaliser. And yeah, they were liable to that going in at the end, weren't they? So, Danny, thanks ever so much for joining us. It's nice to see a different face on our show. So good to have you. And I'm jealous of that memorabilia behind you, I must admit.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I've got my first game at Rovers was the 2002 Workman Cup final, actually. So it was a great game to go to. Obviously, Janssen and Cole scoring, and my best game is probably I don't know if you remember the Barcelona pre-season game where Mark Hughes scored 90th minute.
Yeah.
And I got signatures from like Koku, and I think Saviola was there as well, which like obviously as a football manager player like myself, it's just like a dream, that, to be fair. So yeah, guys, thanks very much for having me on. Much appreciated. And
no worries. Join us again sometime, Danny.
Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
See you later, mate. Thank you. There we go, Rovers fans. That is how to do it. Send a DM to Rovers Chat and you can come and join us and raise your views and your points on the game tonight, or any other game that we, of course, play through the season. So, Joe, I'm just going to give you the final say. I think I got round Tom and then on to you. Just anything else you want to say about the substitutions or the way the game played out in that final 10 minutes that hasn't been covered?
Well, I think the one thing as well, and this comes down to my constant issue with reactionary kind of opinions from us guys on the panel and from the fan base. I mean, Norwich, for example, in the last game, scored a pretty jammy winner that didn't really come from anything, probably wasn't deserved, and we lost that game and got nothing from it. And then obviously tonight, we've scored a pretty jammy, pretty undeserved winner and got 3 points from it. So I know I'm not really talking about substitutions here, but the substitutions kind of change the game slightly, but I think it just comes down to pot luck, not substitutions. It literally is just fine margins, and we just got the rub of the green tonight, and it is what it is.
And I think that's why I was in the position I was, sat on my sofa, just get Dolan on. Something will happen. Whatever it is, I don't know. I'm not sitting here saying I'm some Pep Guardiola tactical whiz kid, but just get him on and see what will happen. He might win a penalty. He might earn a free kick in a dangerous area, anything like that. So that pot luck element, Joe, is why I was making that case for Dolan so much. Yeah. I'm just, Lee B has made me chuckle in the comments. Ryan, would you have got Koiter on? So yeah, let's remember that. There were the days when we were bringing on the likes of Fode Koiter to try and rescue a win or a point or whatever. So, but Lee, you've made me chuckle just remembering those pink boots and that very unorthodox playing style. I mean, what a player he was for all the wrong reasons. Alex, we're going to start digesting some of the turning points and the talking points, if we can. We've spoken about the performance. Let's not labour that. It wasn't very good. But a big turning point, like Saturday, like a couple of the previous games we've had, a 17-year-old, a crazily good 17-year-old in Harvey Elliott has just got a goal from nowhere, really, for us. A nice little bit of interplay with him and Armstrong, and finished it well and rescued us back into that game at that point, hasn't he?
I just want people to think about this for a second. We like to think of ourselves as a forward-looking championship club looking to get into the playoffs with a lot of decent players, but a 17-year-old is carrying this team at the moment. I mean, how good must this kid be? I've lost compliments. I've run out of compliments to have for this kid, really. He's just so calm, so able, just so skillful as well, so calm. I don't think there's anyone in our team, probably bar Dak, that could do what Elliott's doing at the minute, really. And I said on Saturday that I'm 100% sure that he'll play for England. I think that's probably the easiest prediction I'll ever make. It's so obvious just looking at him. And I think that really the only problem for Rovers now is keeping hold of him in January and hoping that Liverpool don't recall. I think that's really the only thing I would say on Elliott, to be honest with you. Can we have him next season as well, please? And maybe the season after, if you don't mind. That's really the only thing I'll say about Harvey Elliott. Just fantastic. And the biggest compliment you can give Elliott is oftentimes with these players that come from Premier League clubs that have been pampered a little bit, that have been surrounded by players on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, they come with that certain attitude, that certain swagger that you may frown upon slightly, a bit like, I would say Casey Palmer came with that a bit. I think we would all agree with that style of player. But Not at all with this kid. Not at all with this kid. And I think he's slotted into the squad really, really well. I think he's got a great attitude, a great mindset. And I think he's probably under the best manager in the world. I think it shows. So, yeah, absolutely nothing bad to say about Harvey Elliott. That was really the game changer. And I thought from then on, although we weren't at our fluid best, obviously, as we've said time and time again on the show tonight, I nearly went into podcast mode then, but yeah, it gave us that bit of impetus we needed to make the Rotherham defence panic for 5 minutes, and that was enough to get the win in the end, wasn't it? And as Joe said, we've had bad luck this season. In fact, I would say we've been unlucky more than we've been lucky this season over the piece, just slightly. So you take all the bits of luck you can get. And I think that Elliott goal gave us the platform to get lucky in injury time like we did.
It certainly did. And just on his attitude, Alex, just scrolling along the ticker now, I've said before on this stream that when we did sign him, I was like, ooh, he's that kid from Fulham that was doing all that Instagram stuff. But just look at what's scrolling on the bottom. Asked about the amount of game time Harvey Elliott has had. Mowbray says he's constantly checking with Liverpool and praises his desire to get involved with is scrolling with extra work in training.
Should have memorised it, Ryan. Should have memorised it.
I should have done, shouldn't I? I mean, that is brilliant to see. Tom, I'm going to come to you. So from the moment we saw Harvey Elliott play away at Watford, it was clear that this kid had a great first touch, great positional play. I think he stood out already on his debut from many of our players at Watford. He's then moved that into a few assists and just obviously one of the first names on the team sheet. I actually think the last few games, Bristol City, Norwich, and this one, he's taken himself to a new level in this Rovers side, I think, in terms of his importance. So the Norwich game, getting that equaliser out of nothing and going, right, we're struggling to get a goal. Sam Gallagher's hit the bar. I'm going to bloody go and get that goal. Tonight, when Rovers are playing dreadfully, the calm head, just to slot that ball into the corner the way that he did at 17 years old, he's taken his importance to this side to a whole new level, hasn't he?
Definitely. He's a 17-year-old that plays like a seasoned pro. I guess that's the only way that you can describe it. He's incredibly important to the way we play. He has that ability, like you say, in the Norwich game, to pick up the ball and create something from absolutely nothing. Tonight, the way he created space before he got his shot off. The finish as well. It wasn't exactly an easy finish either. It wasn't as if it was a little tap in, like against the Coventry one, for example. I guess you're in out of superlatives for him. I think Alex said calm about three or four times when he was just describing him. He's just that good. You're in out of superlatives to describe him. It's scary how good he is at the age of 17. And it's scary just how reliant and important he is to us. Talk about Adam Armstrong and the goals he scores. Adam Armstrong's brilliant at scoring goals. He's done it again tonight. Right place, right time, got us the win. Harvey Elliott is arguably, for me, and I might get a bit of stick for this, might be wrong, you might all disagree. For me, though, Harvey Elliott is potentially a more important player to that Rovers side than Adam Armstrong. Genuinely,
it is a big statement.
It's a huge. I understand that Armour's brilliant. Armstrong scores the goals, and perhaps I'm getting ahead of myself. I've done that before, but
we managed a 5-0 against Wickham without him, so
we did. But that, with respect to Wickham were ridiculously poor that day.
Can I just throw this at you, by the way, guys, which I've just kind of realised in my head, because you said, Tom, he's 17, and I kind of started thinking about that figure. In 2026, he will be the age that Lewis Travis is now. How mental is that? When you really think about it, in 6 years' time, he will be the age that Lewis Travis is now. I mean...
And think how much we when Lewis Travis, a lot of the things we've been saying is how much we've missed him as well. And I know we're completely different players. We can't really compare the type of player. But he is that good. And like I said, I think Andy makes a good point with the Elliott goal in the comments, just saying that against Bristol City, Armour was smashing that into the Blackburn end. Obviously, it was away, but you know what I mean. I get what he's saying. Elliott had the composure to finish it. I'm not suggesting that Elliott's a better goal scorer than Armstrong, but in terms of, especially in the past 5 or 6 games, Harvey Elliott's been more important to the way we play, and would be a bigger loss without him in the side. Maybe not all season, but certainly recently.
So Rovers fans, whilst I'm asking Joe another question in a moment, that I think Tom has started a really, really good debate there. Based on, let's just forget Dak for the moment. We need Dak to come back and get to the levels that he was. That's going to take a while. Who is the most important person for this Rovers side at the moment? Is it Adam Armstrong or is it Harvey Elliott? Drop your comments into the box and we'll see what you all think once I've asked Joe this question. So Joe, Harvey Elliott, there's a bit of talk in the comments there that Liverpool might recall him. What do we do when Harvey Elliott goes? With where we've got Elliott into this side now, firstly, we've just got to enjoy him whilst we've got him. But secondly, Mowbray has just got to exploit this absolute diamond that he has got at championship level and just make a real good opportunity that he's been given to him, hasn't he? We've just got to... Playing him 90 minutes the way he is the right way to do it. Let's revolve this team a little bit around Elliott, particularly whilst Dak isn't available. That is what we've got to do, isn't it? And just really take that opportunity.
I hope I agree with you, because otherwise we're going to end up arguing. You telling me that's what I think. So luckily I do agree, mate. I do agree. I'll throw me 2p in on Tom's debate there, because it's a good one. I think this season, without Armstrong's goals, we'd be on 18 goals scored, which is incidentally the amount of goals that Rotherham have scored this season. And I wouldn't really say that our defence is that much better than theirs, to be honest. I mean, I don't know exactly how many goals they've conceded. So they've conceded 27, we've conceded 23. So we'd probably be looking at being just above Rotherham without Armstrong's goals this season. So for me, it's Armstrong, but I do take Tom's point about Elliott. And on your question, obviously, Harvey Elliott is an important player. We've got to be realistic. He's never going to be ours, ever. He will play for England. He's going to be a Liverpool player, or probably someone even bigger than that, maybe. I don't know. I hope there's no Liverpool fans watching, but you know what they're like. But he's never going to be ours. With somebody like Tosin or somebody like Harrison Reed, you can afford to fall in love, can't you? And start to get ideas of bringing them in permanently. And even if Barry Douglas was playing well and you got your hopes up, or if you were somehow a fan of Christian Walton. But with a player like Harvey Elliott, I feel like it's quite easy to not catch those feelings for the lone player, because you just know no one expects him to stay. So it is what it is, really, and we just enjoy him while we can. And we've never really had that. We've never had a lone player like that. I mean, this really is like a Beckham at Preston and a Harry Kane out on loan. This isn't a Tom Lawrence when he came here and, always going to be a championship footballer. This is a footballer that's going, to quote Harry Redknapp, right to the very top. So we've got to accept what we've got. The only way he's here for longer than this season is if he comes on loan next year, if we're in the Premier League. But I think we all agree that the percentage chance of that is probably under 10, if not under 5. So, Harvey Elliott, great player, but I don't think we should spend too long worrying about him, and we shouldn't build an entire team around him, in my opinion.
It's such a fascinating question, Tom. You've started off a good one here, and I think the fan base is a bit divided on this as well. So I think Kevin Bradshaw is the first one. Apologies if you're not. I think if Elliott goes back to Liverpool in January, he might as well give us the 10th place trophy now. Leap year man, scary thing, Elliott is only going to get better, seems to have the work ethic to go with the talent. Leap year man also giving me some stick ahead of £10 million man, Adam Armstrong. Yep, £10 million man. He's worth more than £10 million. Are we going to get £10 million? I'm going to keep doing that one. And Ollie James sticking the dagger in as well. If Armour's worth 10 million, how much is Elliott worth? Stand and stare, Armstrong still. Scott Taylor, Armstrong. Ben the Boss Jackson, Harvey Elliott. Armstrong is brilliant, but without that support, would he have them goals? I don't think he would. Elliott for me. Alexander Haben, Tony needs to wash Jurgen's car a lot, plus a very good vintage wine. Kevin Bradshaw, thinking about it as in the long run, Armour is probably needed, as without his goals and runs, we wouldn't be half near where we are. And that's the point Joe was making in terms of where we'd be points-wise. BRFC selling page, Adam Armstrong, our player, and build a team around him while using Harvey Elliott to enhance the 11. Michael Pearson, we're lucky to have Elliott. We need to enjoy him while we can. And what else we got here? Riz, I agree with Joe on Harvey Elliott. Love him, but not going to get attached. And I think Joe, you're right, aren't you? It's because he is so good. It's like us all dating like a 10 out of 10 supermodel that we know is never going to stick with us. So we just know it.
We know she's just had a drink and she's not here forever. It's a one night stand, isn't it? It's a one season stand, and we've just got to enjoy it while we can, haven't we?
Exactly. Well, yeah. To be fair, Tom, you might be in a different category to me, Alex. And
I'm genuinely joking, by the way. I know exactly what you
mean.
God,
brilliant.
We need a female on this panel, don't we? Crikey.
We do, yeah. If there are, on a genuine note, if there are any girls watching who want to be part of the panel, we are always looking to expand who's on our streams and things. So, get in touch with Rovers Chat, definitely. So we're going to move on then, just to talk, let's get beyond this Rotherham game. At times it was despairing, at times it was frustrating. So let's get our focus on to the next 4 games in this 12-game block and the season in general. Just going to bring up the table. I'm hoping that Dan's got it, of the 8 games now. So we showed this on the pre-match, how we compared to the others in the division after 8 games in the 12-game block. Barnsley in 5th are on a great run of form with 5 victories against teams all below them. Rovers, 6th, we're on 14 points. Norwich, Bournemouth, who are in the top 2 or 3, Brentford and Cardiff. Rovers 6th in out of the last 8 games in that 12-game block. Alex, when you're looking at that just shows you, like, grabbing that victory in the way that we have today, that's keeping that run rate and that points return for Rovers at the moment, especially in comparison to everyone else. That's made tonight's victory really important and really crucial, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I think, for me, the biggest thing about tonight was, and we alluded to this after the Norwich game, that under Mowbray we've tended to go on season-killing runs where we've not won in 6 or 7 games, and I think tonight was so important because I thought it was a great opportunity to stop the rot of losing the last 2 matches and really put an end to that losing streak. I thought if we'd have lost the game tonight, you then go into the Stoke game thinking, oh God, that's a tough game, and you could end up losing that. And then the players start getting panicky. The whole atmosphere around the club changes, and then things can go downhill pretty fast. So I was really, really relieved that we got the win tonight. I think one thing I would say about form and form tables and that is that, Churchill said that the only statistics worth looking at were the ones you manipulated for yourself for your own means. And I think it kind of follows that with the form tables that you can, if you looked at the form for the last 3 games, obviously we'd be near the bottom, wouldn't we? So
yeah,
you can cut the form whichever way you like, 12, 10, 8, 6. People will cut the form to make themselves look better at the end of the day. I'm not naive to that fact. And I think really the big thing for me was ending that losing run because, we've known before we've been on the cusp of the playoffs in the first season back and we lost 9 from 11 games. That was a tough run. And then last Christmas, wasn't it really, where we went on a great run mid to late November and then into early December. But then Dak got injured and we really, really struggled for 3 or 4 games. And that, I think, left us with a bit too much to do post-lockdown to get into those playoffs. So, yeah, ending that losing streak was massive tonight. And I think that was the biggest thing, the really, really important.
And Tom, the main reason that I brought that table up there is football is a very psychological game in many respects. And we spoke about this 12-game block because it was after the last international break and before the FA Cup third round. And obviously with the games in the midweek, Saturday, Tuesday, and whatever, it was a 12-game block that everyone was going to have to do well in to keep that points total going. That, you know, we've done a really good bit of form there with those last 8 games, and we spoke on the pre-match about, we were probably saying we wanted about 24, 25 points, and we've probably revised that downwards a little bit now to like 20, 21 points. With the win tonight and us on 14 points from the 8, it's 2 wins out of the next 4 to take us up to the FA Cup third round to get us to 20 points, which feels achievable, doesn't it, from the next few games?
Certainly. Look, we didn't play well tonight, so perhaps we have to take that into consideration. But the game's coming up, and I know we spoke about it before today's game, just amongst ourselves. They're winnable games, and it's with the greatest of respects to the likes of Huddersfield and Birmingham. These are games that if we're looking to seriously have a good push towards the top 6, that we should be looking at and saying, okay, we need to be taking 3 points. The football fans fickle, aren't they? You know, you can't expect any easy game because we expected that. We expected that we would do well today. But like I said, I am fickle and I am a football fan. So I'll still go into those games expecting the 3 points, especially against the likes of Huddersfield and Birmingham. I think that, like you say, that target of 20 is well within our reach.
It is, and Joe, I was going to scroll back to 2 comments that we had from Nadeem, and it was someone else, because I think the games against, just whilst I try and find them, the games against Norwich, a little bit Brentford, but not too much, and Bristol City, you're talking about that quality that you've got to beat the sides in the top 6, and then maybe a game like tonight, if you've got the likes of Bradley Dack, etc. Thanks, Dan, you found those now. So there were 2 things that I found really interesting with these comments. So it's Nadeem's comments and then Lee's below. So Nadeem, a lot of talk about Dack's injury, but I feel Travis has been a huge miss in midfield in terms of getting stuck in and winning the ball further up the pitch. And then the comment below from Lee B, last few games, the closing down has stopped, hoping we get a tad more flair and start getting results. Today wasn't a pretty win, but we'll take it. So when we do get past this 12-game block and we are bringing Dack and Travis into this side, we've got 2 aces in the pack there, haven't we, to really shake up this midfield, and you can turn those results against Bristol City and Norwich into wins. You can make games like tonight a bit more, you know, as they should have been tonight, not what we've had. You know, how much are we looking forward to getting Dack and Travis in particular back into this side?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with Leby on, you know, the closing down has stopped. I genuinely don't recall a point in the match where Rotherham had the ball in their own defensive third. I don't know if anybody else can. I just don't think they did. I don't think it's possible to press a team that literally won't hold the ball in their own half. As soon as they got it, it was going upfield. The goal kicks went long. The throw-ins went down the line. If they'd have had possession at the back, I think we would have took the ball off them. But that's how you play against Rovers if you want to try and scrape a win or a draw. And it worked for Forest. Borough got a draw, and Rotherham nearly got away with something today. So, yeah, I don't know if our closing down stopped. But yeah, I would agree that the flares slowed down. I mean, you only have to watch the highlights, don't you, of like the Coventry game, that final goal where you got Holtby flicking it round the corner, Elliott with the outside of his boot, another little flick back. Late, you know, it's like the football when we're winning in a game is just electric. And as soon as a little bit of confidence sneaks in, they're up again. We got that equaliser and we looked like scoring that second goal, you know, for granted for 2 minutes. But, you know, that confidence was suddenly there. We were pushing forward on the ball, and that's what we've been missing. It's more just confidence than anything else. As soon as we go on you lose a game, unfortunately, against Norwich, that confidence disappears.
And I think that confidence, Joe, is a really important one. We've all spoken on here about Thomas Kaminski and the confidence he brings to that back line. If you're one of Rovers' attackers or midfielders, if you're seeing Bradley Dack, Lewis Travis, and Ben Brereton coming back, and you see the infectious character of Bradley Dack, like on his show that we all love watching with Olivia, and how he is in that dressing room, that stuff that he brings to our team, that just makes the players stand 10 feet tall, doesn't it? The moment he's back on that team sheet, I think we'll see some of that confidence coming back in, because he's that something else, isn't he?
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe. Yeah.
And I think that Dak will work well with Elliott, as people have alluded to. And even if it's only for 4 or 5 months, it'll be nice to see those two play together. And I think perhaps really more so than Armstrong. I mean, we keep now hearing about this dynamic duo. First of all, we had like the best front three in the division with Brereton, Armstrong and Elliott. And now we've got a dynamic duo in Elliott and Armstrong. I mean, apart from the FAS, I really don't understand all this having to name the front two or the front three or something. It baffles me. But yeah, I don't get it. But yeah, you could have. No, I won't say that one. I was going to do GAE, but that's just gay, isn't it? So I don't know. I'm getting off on a tangent now, but what I was trying to say was, God damn. Oh, right. I've
Stop digging.
Let's wind it all the way back. Forget what I was talking about there. But yeah, I think Dak would play well with Elliott, and they talk about this dynamic duo. But I think that the dynamic duo really will be Dak and Elliott, and Holtby as well. I mean, there was a game last season where Holtby and Dak played together and it worked, but it takes time. So yeah, my worry is how Armstrong works with Dak. Armstrong never scored goals with Bradley Dack in the team, because when Dak plays, everybody you can see, Lenihan, Nyambe, and it'll be the same with Douglas and Ayala. They want to get the ball to him. Head up, where's Dak? At the minute, it's kind of like, where's Rothwell, where's Armstrong? Bit 50-50 between them. But as soon as Dak's back and he's the main man again, I don't know if Armstrong's going to be able to cope with that.
Alex, just on the back of Joe's question, just as I start to think about the dynamic of Dak in this side, could you see a role for Dak in that side? A bit of pass and move. So he's the one that receives the ball in that kind of 30 to 40 yard out, receives it, passes it somewhere else, and then he's into the box. Is that the role that Bradley Dack's going to have in this side, do you think, when he's back and receiving the ball, like Joe said there?
I think that the conundrum with Dak for me is, I think other than Harvey Elliott, I think he's technically our best player, but I also think he's our best finisher as well. I think if Dak had the chances Armstrong has had this year, I think he'd have scored 20 goals. And I really don't think I'm exaggerating by saying that. I do think that Dak, in terms of finishing, is a level above anything else in the squad. And if I had, a chance inside the box to save my life, it would be Dak that I'd want on the end of it. And So I think there certainly is that conundrum of, do you play him deeper in the midfield to give him more influence on the tempo of the game, more in a sort of Lewis Holtby role? But I think we're kind of covered in that area. I think Mowbray will play him, if he doesn't change the formation, that is, if he sticks with the formation that we're playing right now, I think he will probably play him in the front three. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see him more in that kind of false nine sort of role with Armstrong and Gallagher, or Armstrong and Brereton kind of as inside forwards next to him, really. I think that's, from the precedents that I've seen with Mowbray playing Dak, I think that's really what he's tended to go for now. Whether that would be the popular option with the fans, I'm not so sure, because I think there's a lot of objection within the fan base to maybe Dak playing as a false nine. I think a lot of people don't like him in that position, but nonetheless, I think that's probably, if I had to pick what I think Mowbray will probably do, rather than what I would do, that I think that would probably be what he would go for. And yeah, we'll have to see if it works or not, won't we? I think the one thing I will reiterate about Dak, we really don't know what player we're going to get, to be honest with you. He's had a year out of football. He's really played. It was an absolutely horrendous injury. Let's not get away from this. He's had absolutely no football for 12 months. It's going to take him a long time to get back to what he was. And I think we all need to accept that. I think he will be playing 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, then doing, 45 minutes and then maybe 60. And they'll be building him up slowly but surely. So anyone expecting an instant impact, I think, would be naive and foolish just based on the precedence of these sorts of injuries and how they affect players. So, yeah, I think Dak coming back to full flow and playing 90 minutes Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday is still a long way off. And I think we need to accept that and be patient with him, really.
Rovers fans, I'm just going to ask you if you've got any other points or comments that you want to raise quickly before we finish. Get them in now, because we'll be wrapping up the stream fairly shortly. Tom, I'm going to give you the final word just on this general discussion. So if we reflect on things like the Barnsley performance, the Millwall performance, elements of the Norwich performance, large portions of tonight's performance, footballers are human beings. The games are coming thick and fast. Things go on in people's personal lives, etc., etc., etc. These are human beings that we're dealing with at the end of the day. We've spoken a lot on the show about, well, where does Dak fit in? Where does Travis fit in? Who's the best midfield and everything like that? I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most with Dak and Travis coming back, and then a little bit with Brereton as well, is that off-the-field psychological boost that it will give to the players that they're coming back. And then also on the training pitch as well. If you're someone like Joe Rothwell or you're someone like Lewis Holtby, you're like, holy hell, Dak and Travis are back. I need to keep my place now. That should just lift the overall quality in this squad, shouldn't it, when they're coming back?
Yeah, and goals as well for if Dak gets back in the side, because Adam Armstrong is having a torrid time. Dak then knows he's got to be on his top game, because if not, you've got someone else waiting in the wings. It works in a cycle like that. I completely agree. I think with competition comes hard work, because players know that if they're not playing well, then I'm waiting in the wings. Joe Rothwell's waiting in the wings to take your position. Lewis Holtby's waiting in the wings. Adam Armstrong, Bradley Dak, whoever it is, Mowbray knows he's got players that he can rely upon that would get into a significant amount of starting lemons in the Championship. Let's not forget that. With everyone fit, and I know it's probably never going to happen, especially given the season, we have a pretty strong midfield, especially, and attack. Defence is another question altogether. But midfield and attack is pretty strong. And I'm just really excited to see Bradley Dak back. Just have a quick word on that. He is the best player at Rovers in terms of just his finishing ability. And yeah, really like that Bradley Dak. I'm looking forward to him putting a Rovers shirt back on.
Absolutely. So Rovers fans, we are going to end it very shortly. I'm just going to pick up a couple of things really quickly. Johnny Farmworth, I don't think you've commented before, so I'm going to give you the right of reply here. Unsure if this has been already asked. Realistically, where do you think we'll finish this year? So in the pre-season prediction, I had 9th. I think that we do need to turn some of these results against the likes of Norwich, Watford, Bournemouth into wins to break that glass ceiling and finish in the top 6. But as we've shown with some of the tables and stuff that we've shown today, we're on a fairly good run rate at the moment in terms of our points per game and things like that. So I'm not getting too concerned yet. There's no reason for me why we can't come in the top 6, but there are some of those really critical games that we do need to win. So I'm still probably hovering around that 9th position, hoping that we're going to get 6th is what I'm thinking there. And the final comment that I am going to pick up tonight, he asked it a while ago. Dizzy Thumbs, I can't believe you guys haven't mentioned my 0-0 halftime score prediction. Now, we know it wasn't a halftime prediction, Dizzy Thumbs. However, I will tell you that you got name-checked in our Rovers Chat private message. We were cursing you at halftime. We were cursing you just before Rotherham scored. So thank you for putting us through the ringer. I'm pleased it wasn't 0-0. I'm pleased that Rovers did win 2-1. And thank you for joining us all the way from Tasmania. We really appreciate that. And any of you watching, if you are abroad, do tell us where you're from in the comments. If you're in America, if you're in Australia, wherever you are, we'll give you a shout out, because we really like connecting with you guys who are abroad and can't get to the games as much as we can when we're there.
I saw a
Go ahead,
comment earlier from a chat from Ohio. So I don't know if you pulled that up from somewhere, but I did see that flick through. So thank you for listening.
Dan, pull that one up for me. Work the magic whilst I do some of the other
No pressure.
niceties.
Come on, Dan.
Dan will find it. Find the Ohio comment.
He's trying to eat his tea here, lads. Come on. Give him a break. No, he's trying to eat his takeaway.
But Rovers fans,
give him a break. Let him have his chips.
Watching from Colombia.
Yeah. We saw you comment, Ohio. We're sorry we can't bring it up, but come on. Too long ago now. Sorry about that.
Dan's going to find it unless it gets reposted.
Wow.
We've got New Hampshire, USA.
I like that. That's brilliant. Can I just quickly mention, Ryan, as well, just before we do finish, guys, everyone that's here, we've got loads of viewers tonight, but we're currently raising money for the Salvation Army. Obviously, that's what our big quiz is about next week that we're mentioning. But there's a website that we've set up to make this a lot easier. It's called rcdonate.com. We have raised about £138 so far, but that's only from 7 donations. And we know that there's at least 10 times that many people watching tonight, if not more. So, even if it's only £1 or £2, the more that you can help us raise, the better. We've got loads of current and former players involved. We've already announced Elliot Bennett and Matt Kilgowan, but as much as we want to have some fun with it, the whole point is to raise some money for homeless people at Christmas. So if you can, please head to rcdonate.com and help us out. We would love for that to be more than 138 by the time we go to bed tonight.
Thanks, Joe.
We've even got North Korea tuning in. I'm surprised that of all the things that Mr. Kim would allow access to the internet for, that it would be a Rovers Chat live stream. But yeah, that's news to me.
I'm not focusing on that one. We've got New Hampshire, USA. We've got Brisbane, John Browning in Brisbane, Queensland. We've got Dalford Deuce, Chicago, Illinois, USA. So thank you all. And Kevin Bradshaw in Viva Las Darwin. Love it. No, we love the international followers. We love getting you closer to Rovers as much as we can as well with some of this chat. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for the UK fans that join us as well. And as Joe just said, they're really important cause that we're raising money for over Christmas. The Salvation Army, keep staying on our social media channels. Look out for that quiz. Look out for the announcements, and hopefully we'll raise some good money for the Salvation Army. So we're going to end it there. Tom, Alex and Joe, thanks for joining us again tonight. I think we made a good fist of what was, for 80 minutes, the most frustrating night of my life. So thank you.
Tough, wasn't it? It was tough. That's all.
Most frustrating night of your life, and I know you've got children as well, so that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Most frustrating. Let me just qualify. Most frustrating part of the last 2 hours. So we'll, good qualification there, Joe. Thank you. And Rovers fans, if you're not following us on Twitter, we are Rovers_chat on Twitter. Please stay up to date with all of our content and give us a follow. And please hit that subscribe button on YouTube to stay up to date with all of our videos. We've got the 1875 podcast, which Alex and Tom down here do. We've got Joe's work with Andy Watson on the Stat Show. We've got the On the Other Side that I do with all of the opposition fans. We've got the Verdict from Jacob and Howard. And I'm hoping I've not missed anything else. No, just our pre and post match live streams, of course. I hope I've not missed anyone's video content. If I have, please shoot me. But no, we will end it there. Thanks everyone for joining us. And we will leave you with the sponsor message from 6yardsout.com. Thanks all.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.